episode 28 of Cup of Chi. I'm Anthony Monteith, and again, we return with Kurt Scott of the Dragon Style Lung Ying Kung Fu. And it's exciting. This is the Christmas special edition because we have Kurt with us, who's based in Dublin. We have a very exciting news on the 16th of December. There's going to be a premiere of his film, The Celtic Dragon, and it's his journey from, I suppose we could say, west to east, Kurt, rather than east to west. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what's happening?
Yeah, so just like what you said there, Anthony, some exciting times coming up. We've managed to get my movie, or my docu-film, I suppose, is more of an accurate kind of description. We've managed to get that onto the Odeon cinema, the cinema in Eastwall Road there in Dublin. So it's a full screen, proper big screen, proper theatre. So it was a big ask getting it in there, but we got it in. So very exciting for myself and for people that are interested in the movie. The movie itself has been a 2-year project nearly. So we started way back at the start of 2021, kind of at the tail end of COVID. I suppose to give you a bit of background on how the movie came about. So anybody that's watched any of our previous, your previous episode with me in that, the Cup of Chi, I think we were saying there just before off air, there was episode 12, so quite a while back. They'll know that I'm doing Lung Ying Dragon style martial arts for coming up on 40 years now. So started at 9 years of age for the Bertie, as I explained in that. So I'm on the wrong side of 48 now, so almost 40 years doing the style. And somewhere along the way, I had kind of an idea or a concept that I wanted to try and capture everything that I've done over the years. The reason behind that is just purely because I thought, look, it's interesting. People would be interested with my journey. Kind of, there's not many Irish guys that can say that they fell into a traditional style of Kung Fu. So I managed to get into a traditional style of Kung Fu. And then somewhere along the way, I also got interested in the traditional Chinese medicine. I've had sifus in Hong Kong in terms of the medicine and particularly the herbalism, which is kind of, my expert field. That's what I really excel in. That's what I enjoy is the herbs. I'm also, quite a good acupuncturist, I would like to hope. But I love the herbalism. And again, I mentioned in the docu-film, a lot of people in the West, they actually have reversed how Chinese medicine is done in China. So in China, the herbalism is very much seen as top tier. It's seen as the superior medicine, the medicine that will treat, internal chronic disease and things like that. Whereas the acupuncture is like an add-on or, another tool in the toolbox, basically, to help. But as you say, in the West, people just gravitate towards the acupuncture much more, and it's become more important over here. The reasons behind that we can debate another day, I'm sure. But
that'll be for the next podcast because I have my own thoughts on acupuncture.
Yeah, so the herbalism, look, we can discuss that another day. So yeah, so the film explains that whole journey. I also cover, which I wanted to cover, which can be a contentious point as well, is a little bit of kind of my spiritualism, I suppose. So what I like to practice, my daily practices in terms of Taoism and chanting and so on and so on. So it's a really interesting piece. It was interesting the way it actually came together. So I suppose in my life, I've always had things have kind of just came to me at the right time. So that's the way my life's always evolved. When I need something, it happens. I never kind of push anything. I just, I believe in the natural laws, as they say, the universe. So things just come when I need them. So I've been very lucky that way. Now I'm not saying I've lived a charmed life. I've had issues as well, but when I want positive energy, it generally comes to me. So as I suppose fate would have it, as they say, almost 2 years ago, I got a new client, young guy, lovely guy, got to know him very well, came in with sore knees. He had some serious issues going on in the knees in terms of kind of cartilage issues, tendon damage and so on and so on. So I treated him. I think at this stage he had been doing a lot of physio. Maybe he was, he was physiing people for over a year at this stage. So he'd been doing physio and bits and pieces and some types of other holistic therapies in terms of, I think, laser and things like that. Anyway, he wasn't getting anywhere. He came to me. I used the protocol that I use for knee injuries and things like that. So within, I think it was certainly less than 6, but maybe about 4 to 5 sessions, we kind of had him good. He was back walking a lot. The clicking that was there, the popping that was in the knee joints had gone out of the knees, and I think he was astonished, to be honest. So he had kind of said to me, look, he said, when I'm in here, I noticed that, when other people are coming out and they're at the counters and things like that, that they're singing your praises and that, you're pretty good with the musculoskeletal issues and all that type of thing. And he said, what you do is fascinating. And, he said, would you be ever, interested in putting it into some kind of a documentary? And I said, yeah, I probably would. But I said, to be honest, I said, I probably have a touch of OCD. So I said, I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I said, it wouldn't be something that I'd do unless it was absolutely spot on. So I said, it's not the type of thing I'm going to capture on a camera phone or something. It'd have to be, top notch.
Mm.
And with that, he just said, okay, so I'm your man. He says, I'm a filmmaker. He says, I've made some, well-known documentaries. He said, I work with some, big industry. He said, I've made an Irish movie and all that type of thing. So I said, okay, let's give it a shot. And it just kind of evolved out with that. He's a really easygoing guy, kind of like myself. But at the same time, similar to myself, he seems to be very much a perfectionist. So he likes, a bit of OCD as well. He likes everything done right. So between the two of us, when we came together, it was very easy to work together. He was I suppose, as driven as me, and he wanted a good end result. So as you say, we started back in early 2021. We done a lot of filming. I think at one stage we might have had something upwards of 16 hours of footage, and we were kind of, I suppose, ruthless then in clawing the back or editing it. So we kind of, we butchered it back to an hour and a half. So it was a feature-length documentary, which is great. And yeah, so it's turned out very good. I'm very proud of it. I know he's proud of it. I think it holds up. I think it'll hold up anywhere. I think we could put on any of the platforms, whether it be Netflix or Amazon or whoever wants it. But the main thing is now is to get it out to the general public, just to show people another way. Because certainly, and I know you've probably seen it as a practitioner of Chinese medicine as well. Certainly, COVID was actually probably really good for Chinese medicine because I think a lot of people reflected on their own personal health, I suppose. What are you looking after himself enough? What are you doing enough fitness? Because they were aware that the people that, were compromised in terms of health, that if they got sick, they probably had less of a chance than a really well, healthy person with good well-being, and that means the mental health as well. So, I've certainly seen an upturn in that. So I think it's the time where people are genuinely interested in, I suppose, the mental health, the physical health, the spiritual health, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. And yeah, so, that's reflected in the fact that, we've sold out the full screen. So, I think it's good. And I'm really excited about next Saturday, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm looking forward to coming. I'm going to bring my son with me who, has battled with his own, I suppose, mental health and has really seen a benefit from practicing certain things with me. So I think it's a good thing for him to be around that energy and see what's available. So there's I think, was it 1,600 euros or more raised for charity from the film. So that's fantastic. I think that's a great achievement. And for children. So I think we can all agree that that's a great cause. Is it the Laura Lynn Foundation? So
yeah, they do tremendous work. So it's what I mean. There's a couple of charities I would have had in mind, but they're one that stands out for me because their work is absolutely priceless.
yeah,
I mean, to do what they can do for children that are basically some of them end of life, unfortunately, but just to make their journey across is, as comfortable as they can. To be honest, they're the real kind of angels, people that can do that type of work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm blessed to know you. I think I've known you for a couple of years, and probably COVID was the thing that drew me into, connecting with you during that period. For me, yes, I went back to my herb studies. I dropped it for about 8 years, and then I realized, people were approaching me, and it's easy for me to do the system that I do, and then back into the qigong, which I know me and you have linked in with, and I managed to get Master Yap and Dennis to come here. And I know that myself and yourself have always had an interest in the energy work. So I'm hoping that next year, I know that we plan to host some of these teachers to come over, and then with our own circle of friends on both sides, on your side, mine, and colleagues, is to get to form a community of like-minded people who want to share and learn. No ego, going in there, doing the work, and seeing what it brings for them first, and what it brings to others as a benefit. And I know that you are heading to China again. You've had a really big year, married, getting this film launched, getting your eyes sorted, ready for the traveling. And it's been an amazing to watch you progress. It's been really, really, I'm very honored to be even to sit down and have a meal with you and chat to you. It's been great. And you really, I always say to any of my colleagues, if you go to Kurt's clinic, you feel like you're going home. You feel like, you're sat at home with a brother. It's not, there's no pretense. This is what it is. It's real. This is what we do. There's no showing off. And I think it's fantastic. It's a fantastic attitude to have to life in general. I know your earlier life wasn't so easy, but I think those kinds of things shape you and strengthen you, and have led you to where you're at. So yeah, I know 2024 is going to be a year of growth. I know that anyone who's watching this, who's interested in seeing the movie, need to contact you for, post-premiere screenings. And those of you who are in the distribution network, that are in my network, that are listening to this or watching it, if you could contact Kurt, we'll leave his details at the bottom of this podcast, both on YouTube and on other platforms, to contact him, because it's really important to see how somebody can take these traditional arts and run with it to the highest level. And I'm sure there's another 30, 40 years left of training to go yet, Kurt, but that's what it is, isn't it? I mean, as you say, there's very few people, especially in Ireland, that have reached that level, let alone in the UK. So what's next for 2024? Can you give us a quick, brief layout of what your early plans are?
Yeah, so as you said, I mean, COVID was, I suppose, a kick in the teeth for us all. So it stopped my ability to go back and forth to China and Hong Kong, as I've been doing for years and years now. So typically I would have went, twice a year, sometimes for 3 weeks, sometimes for 2 weeks, whatever work permitted. But certainly I would cram in a lot in when I was over there. But as you say, COVID stopped all that. So thankfully now, with everything settled and back to normal, back to Hong Kong, back to China, and out to Japan actually in February. So we have a full month away, myself and my wife Amy. So we're bringing Christian, and filmmaker. And basically what we're going to do is make part 2 of the movie. I'm also bringing my top student, Clive. He's a lad from Scotland, who I teach online. So I teach quite a few people online as well. So that's another good thing, I suppose, that technology has done for all of us instructors, that we can spread a little bit wider.
Yeah.
And get the arts out there. So yeah, we're going back to China, and I've talked to my Gong, who's featured in the docu-film. So we have a short interview with him, and we also have quite the treasure. We have him doing a demonstration, which was at last year's Chinese New Year in London. And I should know exactly, but I've forgotten, but it was at his 70th birthday a good few years back. So I'm going to say he's mid-70s now. And he still moves like a man that's in his mid-20s. His power, his speed, his technique is phenomenal. So even for people to see that on the screen, it's going to probably blow them away, to see what you can still be able to do and what you can retain from practicing martial arts for a lifetime is fascinating. So when we go out there, he's going to line up a lot of interviews for me. So a lot of the masters are quite elderly. So the idea was to get interviews with these guys before it's too late. Because a lot of them, as say, are, you know, late 70s, 80s, 90s, even some of them are in the hundreds now at this stage. And still functioning and still training. But look, nature is nature. We don't live forever. So the idea is to capture as much the gold, the treasures as we can off them, interview them all, maybe get a few little demonstrations, go around, see some of the temples. So it's really going to be a follow-up to part one of the documentary. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. I'm getting to Kyoto, Japan as well, which is going to be a big thing for me because it's you know, it's a beautiful old city as well, which I love. I love historical cities. I love that type of thing. I'm not really a skyscraper type of guy. I'm not into any of that. I'm not into the modern life. I love all the old buildings, all the traditions. I'm very much a traditionalist when it comes to martial arts. I'm rooted in respect and honor. I don't like any of the modern day pursuits. If people like it, it's over there for them. If you like the MMA, go and do it. That's fine. It's not my bag. I love all the old school stuff. As I say, I love the respect and the discipline and the honor comes with traditional martial arts. So we're going to focus a lot on that and trying to get that out in part two. And of course, I'm going to have my own instructor in Hong Kong on it, which is going to be amazing for people to see as well, who I rate as probably one of the best, I have to say. I put him up at the professor level, so he's unreal, to be honest. So it's going to be great for people to see him. A lot of these guys don't speak English, so all the interviews will be conducted in either Mandarin or Cantonese, but we will have subtitles and translation on the film when it does come out. Yeah, so, and then I suppose part one of the movie, when people, when it does finally go out onto the big screen, or, you know, and when it does go onto one of the platforms, it's kind of a nice piece because it kind of captures my whole background. It captures, I suppose, the lunging style itself in its history, its principles, you know, right into its power generation principles and the whole thing, the mechanics behind it. Then it kind of captures my journey, you know, coming up through living in London, training with my Qigong in London. When I was a younger man, I spent about 6.5, 7 years in London. So it captures all that. And then it captures, you know, right up to date where I'm involved in the Chinese medicine heavily. So I've kind of become, I suppose, a bit of an authority, I hope, on Chinese herbalism. So I would kind of, as an unofficial role, I would kind of mentor a lot of Chinese herbalists. So a lot would send me, you know, WhatsApp messages and different things and say, what do you think of this court? What do you think of this tongue here? So have a look at it and, you know, what would you prescribe? So in a way, it's kind of my way of giving back, my way of helping, and a way of spreading the knowledge. So I'm certainly hoping to get my herbal Sifu in Hong Kong as well, and have people see him and see where the whole connection is, you know. Yeah, so all that's going to be covered, and a lot of that is covered in part one already. As I say, it's a feature length, so it's very in depth. It does sound quite long, but in actual fact, it's very fast paced. And Christian has a brilliant filmmaker. He manages to keep it fast paced, and he manages to keep it, you know, really well.
Keeps your attention.
Yeah, he keeps your attention. It's a really good piece. So yeah, I'm quite proud of it, actually, you know. So it's definitely something I'm happy to put out there, because
so people that are coming we're gonna meet up before the film, and then afterwards we're gonna go for some get together drinks. So this is more of it's like an event, really, isn't it? It's more than just going for the film. It's a gathering of people who have a like-minded interest. And I think those people become ambassadors then for the work, you know. And I know for myself, I know nothing about Dragon style other than what you've demonstrated, but it's fascinating to see the power that can be generated from the human body. It's, you know, in a way that is so efficient compared to, you know, things that you see on the screen. I know we were laughing and joking recently about seeing a former school colleague on the big cinema, you know, and then seeing like his journey and how he'd gone from traditional to more modern approaches. But I think it's so important. And I do say, like one of my teachers passed on used to say, you know, that the West is the place that's going to preserve it more than the East at this stage, because there is that tradition, isn't there, of holding on to the secrets. And now I think that they're realizing as time goes on, there's no need to do that anymore. And I mean, obviously there has to be worthy enough students that have the respect and can carry it through. And I think I'm hoping this will come across in the film, that they'll see, you know, that you're a genuine guy, you're authentic, what you're doing is as close to the tip of the spear as is possible. And I know I've tried to lift up one of your weapons and realize, you know, the level of power and strength you need is beyond the ordinary. So, you know, for those of you who are listening in the cup of tea this episode, we will send you details once the film is ready to go out after the screening, which might take a little while to get everything together. But once that's up and the platform's been chosen, then we'll get people on board with it. I think I'd love to have you on for a longer podcast once we get through this Celtic Dragon premiere, probably just before Christmas, so we can maybe come down to the depending on how, I know it's going to be crazy busy before Christmas, so we'll see what we can do. And I'm hoping to bring a buddy of mine who's very interested in what you're doing, and then you put us through our paces and destroy us, and have that on film just to show how difficult it is actually to do dragon style. And two old blokes getting beaten up would be.
Do you know what? Age is not really relevant. It's all about commitment, and that's what I say. And the term I always use, and I probably overuse it, but just because I like it, the term I always use for me in terms of the dragon style is quality over quantity. So I'm in a very privileged position where I do really well through Chinese medicine. I don't really want for that, and I don't need to be a millionaire. I'm happy to have a comfortable life. So I don't need money from martial arts. It's not my end goal. And anyway, it's very hard to make money, but there is some making it out there off it. But and more power to them. It's just not for me. What I want is good students. So I don't need 300 students. I don't need an international federation that has, you know, multiple, you know, branches. I don't need that. What I need is quality. And that's exactly what I need is quality all the time. So when I train people, I push them. And I want to be as authentic as I can. I understand that you can't do what you done in the old days. Certainly when I start training, I basically for the first 3 years was doing stance work. So I had learned just basically what we call the dragon stance, the lung ma. I had learned the big bow, which was the half step. And then I'd learned the driving step, the full step, the lunging ma. And that was it. And I just drilled them for 3 years. Did it do good? Yes, it did. Because even now when I go to Hong Kong or China, some of the older masters will say, oh, your horse is very strong. That sounds funny. What they mean by a horse is your stance, okay? I mean, your stance on your root is very strong, right? Your mapo, yeah? Okay? They mean it's strong. The stance is strong. So, and again, it comes back to the thing, if the foundation is strong, the building is strong, you know? So, weak foundation, doesn't matter. You can't build anything, right? So, you start with the building blocks. So, yeah, you can't really do that anymore, but I still try to drive the students as much as I can. So as I say, I'm the type of guy that I'll train somebody. If I feel after a couple of months that they're not committed or they're not improving, then we'll have a chat. And if they're still not improving after that, then I'll just tell them, look, maybe go and find a different system, because I don't like to waste people's time or my time, right? Because I'm at an age now where I just want to give the real style, give the real thing to somebody, and let them, you know, let them flourish. That's it.
Yeah.
Like I have a new online student now. The latest guy I took on is an American guy, lovely guy, very strong guy, martial arts background. But I know he trains. I can see it. But still, when I showed him the dragon stance, he's already been in contact to say, wow, I done this and thanks for that because I couldn't walk. Right? The style is difficult. It's a hard style. There's no way of sugarcoating it. There's no way of saying, yeah, you'll just join up and within a year you'll have it. You won't.
Yeah.
It's a complex system. It takes a lot to learn how to generate the power. And I suppose we could talk in a bit more detail in a further episode. But if you look at society now, we're very much so in that kind of automatic culture where everybody wants everything instantly. They want it instantaneously. I want it. That's it. I want to be the black belt in BJJ. I want to be fighting in MMA. I want my first fight. This is the way all the kids are now. Unfortunately, that just will not marry up a match with Lung Ying, so they just won't end up doing it. It's as simple as. Because there's no way, there's no shortcuts. You just can't do it. You have to put the effort in. You have to put the time in.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Hong Kong now, I see some of the kids, and if I'm being very honest and very frank, and I usually am because I'm a straight up guy, which I think you know by now, some of the stuff I see in Hong Kong is terrible. And in China. I mean, basically some of the older masters are holding the candle because they're still the ones that have done the training, put the shift in. And some of the younger guys, not them all, there is some very good young guys as well, which I have great respect for. But some of them are just, they're very poor. You don't understand the body mechanics. And that's not just my style. This can be Pak Mei, it can be Chow Gar, it can be many different Hakka systems where you can see they don't understand the body mechanics. They don't understand the power generation. They don't have that horse. They don't have the root. And they just don't have it. And that's basically because they've chosen to take shortcuts, or they're lazy because they'd rather be on the PlayStation, whatever the case may be, we don't know. But they just don't want to put the shift in. And I understand that people are busier nowadays and people have to work and they have to make a living. But again, you know, if you're passionate about it, you'll find time. I mean, I work long hours. My routine generally is myself and the wife, Amy, get up. We're training by 7 o'clock in the morning. We put a full hour in, sometimes an hour and 20 minutes. Then we'll get on the bike, cycle 10 kilometers to walk just for another bit of fitness. And then we do a day's walk, which is usually 12 to 13 hours. And then we cycle home and then we train in the evening.
Yeah.
So there will always be excuses. If you want to make excuses, you can always make them. There's always the reason why you can sit on the sofa and eat the chocolate cake. All those things are going to be there. So really in martial arts, it's about discipline. It's about having that mental strength to say, I'm not eating that chocolate cake tonight. Of course, you don't have to be a saint, but you have to betray a real martial artist or to be a real martial artist, you have to have discipline. You have to know how to look after yourself. You should be in good health. I mean, you talk about the Qigong even. Qigong is something I've always been fascinated, always been interested in. There's Qigong within the Lung Ying, but it's certainly a hard Qigong. Okay? So for years, I've been looking for a genuine system of medical Qigong. And today, I've never found one. I've done a lot of what I like to call health Qigong, which is Qigong for personal health. So it works on developing your own kind of internal organ strength, your own energy and what have you, but you can't do much else with it. So trying to find a genuine system of medical Qigong where you can actually transmit Qi to heal others, but not only transmit Qi to heal others, but also find the faults in people's bodies. So find those cold spots where the illness lives. That's a real power. I've seen it done, but I've never been lucky enough to find a master. Thankfully this year, and maybe it's because the dragon is coming in, the dragon energy is starting to come in. I've done just that through yourself. So we've managed to find Dennis of the Hanyang Ruyi, who for me, the minute I seen him, I knew he was genuine. Because one thing about the Qigong industry, and it can be true of Kung Fu in general, there is a lot of what you might call charlatans in it. And let's just be honest. Okay, there's no nice way to sugarcoat it either. There's a lot of people pretending or professing to be something they're not. These people I can sound out and spot within 5 minutes because of my 40-year background in martial arts. So it was really refreshing to see somebody like Dennis that's actually a genuine master of Qigong. And also you have Master Yap, who's obviously another very genuine master as well. More so on the health end, I think, of the Qigong. I could be wrong. But with Dennis, he has...
He's
He
definitely
probably has
moving
both.
that way. You can see,
Yeah.
he's handing over, slowly handing over the martial aspects to other people. And, he's 68, coming up for 70, working that way forward. And he's realizing there is a health aspect to the Neigong. Dennis, like yourself, worked hard, was an ordinary bloke like me and you who just always had an interest in martial arts, did a bit of this and a bit of that. And then when he found his teacher, I think his teacher's still alive, and he told me, at 80 years of age, he's still learning, and he still has a couple of masters he hasn't had a chance to train with himself, who are only a few years older than him, but he still considers them his master. So that's the level of humbleness it takes. It's he doesn't need to do it for money, right? It's not, he's not in that environment. And I think, when I've worked in China, you do come across those, what you call the fake gurus, who need to keep money on the table. So they string you along, right? It's the same in the West, right? In some of the old yoga schools, the real old yoga masters, they don't do it for money. They do it to take on disciples. And then in the West, it's like, you need to do level 25 of yoga before you can be. And the same in some of the martial arts. I mean, I did a very commercial style of martial art. Luckily for me, my teacher was considered an absolute beast of a man, genuinely hardcore master at a very young age, at 23, but an absolute beast of a guy. And I mean, for him, it was his job, so he had to make it more commercial. But he told me he wasn't a day didn't go by that he didn't wake up in the morning and think, I should have gone to the States, because he would have been a millionaire, But it wasn't for him. He stuck with his crew. He stuck with the loyalty. Trod on a few toes, of course, like all martial artists. But for me, it was too hard a style. My body was getting battered in my mid-20s. And I needed that internal system to heal me. So it's like, now I'm coming back. I'm slowly coming back. I'm 51 this month. And I'm thinking, right, I need to really lose that bit of belly, get fit again. And one of my teachers who's 60 says to me, you need both. You need to be able to be physically strong enough, and you also need to have the internals. And what you said to me with Dragon Style is, it's like that yin yang. It's constantly turning. And there's phases in the martial art where you go hard, then soft, hard, then soft. And there's phases when you're both together as a dragon. So I think that's really interesting. But you're right. You have to have, as a young person, you have to have those foundations. Even Master Yap said it. Like, he went through hell, and now he doesn't teach it like that, because he recognizes these modern people, they cannot commit to that level of hell. And it's like, he's also realizing sometimes it's a cultural thing, right? In China, you just grind, right? It's the culture of just grinding, getting it done, getting through. I see it a lot in Tai Chi. People just holding these stances for hours and hours and hours and hours, and really never really progressing in the martial art, but they're just doing it because their teacher did it. Whereas I'm feeling, because you've traveled and you've been able to suck in those bits of information and weave it together, so that you can say, right, if you want to fast track it for this, there's no fast track. You have to just do that. To kind of improve this a bit quicker, you need to work on these elements. And I think that's the beauty, a little bit of the Western mindset, is we're a little bit more analytical in some ways. We want to know why it works. Whereas with the Chinese masters I trained with in the past, it's like, don't question, just do, And then you kind of figure it out yourself. This is why it works. You have to kind of play with it. Whereas if you have a slight, it's a discovery side. Whereas with us, I think we want people to be, we would like our students to do well. So we try our best to facilitate that. Whereas I think you're dealing with billions of people, and it's a case of, I mean, if someone knocked on your door and said, right, will you take me as an apprentice? I'm sure you'd be like, okay, but you're on probation for the next 12 months. I'm not saying yes until you've put them it's a bit like being in the special forces, right? People think applying to go into the special forces, they get in, they think that they're accepted because they've been accepted. But really, that first 12 months is the real test, right?
Yeah. I mean, the most important thing for the Lung Ying with the dragon style, as you say, is the foundation. Because when I even look at the masters that I've been lucky enough to train with, my CBAC Gong in Hong Kong, and he's training partners who will be all kind of they're called C socks, so C sock gongs to me, and then my C gong and what have you, and my lay C toy gong. The resilience I see in those men in their kind of twilight years, if you like, is unbelievable. You can see that what they've done in the past in their youth has stood to them. It literally has strengthened their constitution. I mean, if you look at it from a Chinese medicine perspective and you think about Jing and all that type of stuff, that's what they've done. They've strengthened the body. The constitution is so strong. The guys never get sick. Even simple things for old guys, and they are old guys, you wouldn't like to admit it. You'd probably beat me up for saying that, right? But they don't get sick. I never hear of them sick. I don't see them cold. Even when I meet them and it's cold evening, they're in t-shirts. They have this abundance of energy and just, natural power and resilience. That's what they've got out of martial art, which is, for me, is fabulous. You just, you can't get that without the effort. You can't attain it without the journey. And that's what I try to get across in the movie. Because let's take something else. Just because I don't want to beat up on all the modern pursuits, right? But sure. if you take even, say, the Muay Thai kickboxing, I really like it. I really like Muay Thai kickboxing. It's a really good art, right? It's tough, it's hard, it's great to watch, but the longevity in it is not there. Most of the guys, by the time they're like 35 to 40 years of age, the body is broken, battered, the joint smashed up, some of the internal organs are damaged. Okay, kidney and liver doesn't function as well as it should.
Yeah.
You look at Kung Fu, it's the opposite of that. You can do it till you're 100 and you can do it proper if you know how to do it. Lung Ying is a very good system in the sense that it's been lucky by its history, where it came from. Okay, so it came from Lo Fo Shan mountain, basically the monastery mountain, right? And in that monastery, that Taoist monastery, you had Chinese medicine doctors, you had the herbalists, and you had the Kung Fu practitioners. And they mixed the whole thing together. So when it did eventually come out to the public, Lam Yu Kuai, who was the Zhou, the founder of the style, the modern art outside of the temple, or the first lay person to learn it, he was a herbalist. He was a bone setter. He was a Chinese medicine doctor. He was an expert in what we call Da, which is the kind of the fallen hit wines and the poultices and all that, lotions and balms and what have you. So the style itself developed around health. So you understood how to stand, how to move, the body mechanics that wouldn't hurt the body, how to breathe. I mean, even if you look at some of the other martial arts, and no names, no scandal, because I'm not going to fall out with everybody, but the systems where they generate power through tension and through so much tension that they build, okay, basically in here, from the Dantian and up, we kind of call it the pressure cooker in Chinese medicine, at least my Sifu did. And a lot of them build so much pressure in there and hold it in the body that you actually end up damaging their own internal organs. So there's certain systems of martial art where some of the masters, they pass on quite young. A lot of them take strokes. A lot of them have hypertension.
You see that in the Qigong.
Attack.
You see that in the Qigong world too.
Yes.
The guys that transmit. So they generate an electro energy from the Dantian outwards. They end up dying in their 50s and 60s.
Exactly, because they damage the cardiovascular system because they don't truly understand the medicine. They don't understand what they're doing. And that's another thing that I noticed when I went to see my CBAC Gong, and when he put everything together for me, and my C Gong as well, who have been the two kind of inspirations for me in Lung Ying. The one thing I noticed was, and that can't be it can't be took off the table is that they're both highly intelligent guys. They really understand Chinese martial art and Qigong and the medicine, the acupuncture, the herbs. You've got to have some smarts because it is pretty complicated stuff. It was put together, a lot of it, by scholars, by philosophers, by people that knew what they were doing. So I'm not saying the ordinary Joe Soap in the street can't do it. He can, but he needs it broke down from. He needs to understand it. I've come to, to a point where I've been instructing that long. I know how to feed certain students. I know what they need. I know some of them will take it quicker. Some of them I need to break it down into A, B, C, and D, and so on. Yeah. So you need to understand it. Or otherwise, what inevitably happens is what we were just talking about. People end up hurting themselves through incorrect practices. When I see guys my age and they go, look, I've no cartilage left in the knees and I've 5 discs gone in the back and they put rubber in there and they've done this shoulder and I'm getting steroid injections, then I have to say to them, you need to sit down and reflect. You need to ask yourself what art you were doing and how you're practicing. Because if you're broke up, you're doing wrong. I mean, I've been in villages in Hong Kong where I've seen guys, and this sounds comical, but I've seen guys with bow legs. Now, some might say it's rickets, but to me, it's a lot of bad martial arts practices as well. Because the minute I start training with my Back Gong even, I notice how smooth he flows. And then I've seen some other Kung Fu masters where they try to put holes in the ground. So what I like to call it is WWE demonstration. Right? It's like wrestling. They hit the ground and then they punch. So it gives an impression of power, but what it does is long term, it smash the hips, smash the ankles, smash the knees. Now it's good for me because they have to come to me then. But all joking aside, realistically, that's my lifelong mission, and that's why I'm putting these documentaries out, is to show people that they need to train, but also how to train. How to heal themselves in every way possible. Because just like we spoke there, and even you mentioned your son, who's a beautiful kid, I met him, a lovely kid. In the West, what they tend to do is stigmatize and separate. So they talk about mental health, which is a term I don't like. I'll use it because when you use it with your clients, you understand what you're talking about. But we like to call it the Shen or the Shen faculty or, whatever. We don't separate. In Chinese medicine, we shouldn't separate mind, body, and spirit. We really shouldn't. And I know that's overplayed as well, that you have to have all as one and blah, blah, blah. But realistically, it is all one. Because where the mind is not right, the body won't be right. There's always imbalance. And once everything's out of kilter, it's all out. That's basically how it works. One goes, everything goes. So what we need to do as a community, when we teach Qigong, when we teach Kung Fu, is show people right from the offset, not only how to do the martial art, but how to do the health, how to look after themselves mentally. Like we talk about even in the documentary, I give a very small window into my spiritual practices, which I would like to go into more. So I had been hesitant when I was younger because of, how would I put it? There can be certain, accusations and people can mix things up. So I've always been careful to say that I wouldn't try to change anybody's religion. Because some people are very religious and that's okay. Yep. But if you look at the term religion, what does it mean to you, Anthony, right? To me, what it means is the worship of a god, or it's worship through a set of man-made values or principles that conform to one or other school of thought. That's what it is, yeah? Would you say that's it?
I think that's very accurate. I always think it's almost like a set of rules that have been created to control humanity through the worship of some sort of divine deity that you have really no access to. That's how I see it. I'm fortunate. My parents let me choose my religion. They never baptized me or confirmed me, and actually, I had that choice at 18, and I chose no religion. And I love religion, and I love studying it, and I love learning about different religions. And I have friends that are Sikh, that are Hindu, that are Taoists that are Mormons. You know, I have friends in all different religious aspects, but for me, I'm spiritual. And it's not a religion. It's just I have very strong spiritual nature. I always have. I'm born into it. I have relatives that are extremely powerful spiritual mediums, if you're into that, another form of religion in a way. But, you know, so I understand that. For some reason, the image of Taoism and Buddhism follows me hand in hand. And it was only when I spoke to Master Yap, he was saying that one of the martial arts that he teaches was originally Taoist. The Taoist priest had to leave the Taoist temple, priestess, because it was being attacked. She took shelter in the Buddhist Shaolin, which at that time wasn't this martial school, was a proper university of healing and meditation and spiritual practice. And she brought with it her flavor of martial arts, which later then turned into something else later on. But I do think that, do I have a spiritual practice on it? I do, but I think what's happened a little bit from what I've studied of Taoism is become a little bit like religious. You know, there's a few people who've tried to put a religious tint on it or slant on it. But actually, if we look at Irish people, if we remove the religious aspect, they were extremely spiritual race of people. They're very connected to the land. They lived on the land, in the land, buried themselves in the land. And so I think that's why I think sometimes as acupuncturists, we do quite well. You know, as herbalists, we do quite well.
Well, the original orders, the Celtic and the Druid, the whole Druid background was very, you know, some would say it was pagan, but it was very spiritual. Of course. But that's, and I mean, just like you, a lot of my students are from every walk of life. In actual fact, one of my top students is Muslim. He's a great lad. Religion doesn't bother me. Whatever religion you want to be, to me, it's all about being a good person. When you grind it all back down, and I mean, people mightn't understand it till they get to a certain level in life, but really what it's all about is love. That's what it's all about. Once you can actually love people, you've achieved everything. That's what it's all about. And that's as simple as I can put it. Now, we can go into much more detail about that if people want in the next episodes, but I was born a Catholic, or brought up in the Catholic faith. I never had any interest, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, because I was very analytical since I was a small boy. I like to think of a good brain in terms of I certainly take things in very quickly. I analyze things, and I like to, you know, be analytical, as I say. So I make sense of things for myself, and it never made sense to me. So I converted to Taoism quite a long time ago now. Is Taoism a religion? Yes, it is. Does it need to be? No, it doesn't. You can certainly practice Taoism principles, as you say, through spirituality. So again, if you look at what we were just talking about, which was kind of, you know, giving a rough definition of religion, if you give a rough definition of spirituality, well, what is that?
Yeah.
So it's being at one. It's Taoism. It's being at one with nature, okay, or being at one with the universe, as they say in all the martial arts movies, right? But it's being at one with nature, trying to do no harm, trying to help everybody out, trying to be a loving person. That's what it is. That's what spiritual means. Being content with yourself. Spirituality starts with loving yourself. Once you can love yourself, then you can love others. Some of the basic Taoist chants that I do, they're all around vibration. So everything in the universe has a vibration. And if your vibration is off, and this is more going into the whole yin and yang concepts again, if your vibration is off, you're going to be unhealthy, or you're going to be unwell, or your well-being won't be right, your mental well-being. So even when I do the chanting, I feel so good. And that's what it's all about. I mean, look, I'll show you here, and just to show that it's never anything religious. But if I just turn the laptop there, I hope I don't throw things off. But if you look, actually, I'll probably have to lift it up for you.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see behind me here, but
Yeah,
this is kind of my altar. So I show this in the I don't know if the camera's working there.
yeah, I got you.
So this is my altar,
And the
right?
character, the deity behind you.
That's a deity. So that's Yu Huan,
Mm.
right? So he's like the Lord or the governor of heaven and earth. He's the main man, basically.
Mm.
And then as we go down, you'll see that I have here is I don't know if you can see it, but it's a bit hard to show it on this camera. It's not great, but we have, we've Gong and so on, Kuan Yin, and
Yeah, yeah,
obviously I have the dragon as well, and I have a
yeah.
talisman up there behind me. So we've a few bits and pieces. Why do I practice it? Because it gives me good energy. It keeps my head right.
Mm.
As you said yourself, and maybe someday I'll write a book, but I did have an interest in
It's
youth. I
coming.
had
I
yeah,
predicted it. I
I
predicted
had
it.
it. I had
It's
an
happening.
interest in youth that you might say was very, very rough in terms of violence and all sort of things like that. Not nice stuff, but it's where I grew up, and I grew up in a very rough area, and it's I suppose it's dog eat dog world, So you either become the wolf or you become the victim, basically.
Mhm.
So it's a rough area where you had to defend yourself, and I had all that stuff, and I had, unfortunately, probably thousands of altercations. I was also a doorman in a very rough area, so I kind of ended up in all the kind of very physical, very macho, very kind of bullshit roles, which you do because that's the environment I was in, and
Sure.
your environment shapes you, whether you like it or not. I was always very lucky that I had the martial arts because the martial arts kept me grounded, it kept me sensible, and basically kept me a good guy. And ultimately, the goal was always to pull away from that because you are your company, you are your circle. It's as simple as. And
Yeah,
again, if you believe in Taoism and you believe in the fact that we come down in circles, we've all met before. We're here to help each other in life.
yeah, sure.
It doesn't get any simpler than that. I mean, even you mentioned the movie, and I have to say, who's coming, I'm very honored because I have martial artists coming. I have acupuncturists, herbalists, I have energy walkers, I have psychics, I have people from all walks of the community, which
Yeah, I
are,
think some of my clients are coming as well.
yeah, I've
You've been
got a lot of my
interested.
own clients, which is just great interest. Actually, during the week there, I just was speaking to two guys. So there's two guys used to do a podcast. I don't know if they're still keeping it going, but he's certainly done it during COVID. Niche and Alex. So they're two well-known showgar Mantis guys from London, and they're
Mhm.
both flying over for it, flying in on the Saturday morning, watching the movie, back out Sunday evening.
Nice.
Obviously, a big expense for the two guys coming at
Yeah.
a minute's notice. But that's what martial arts community does. They rally together. We look after each other. We support each other. We push the ego to one side, and we do what needs to be done. So yeah, I'm very honoured to have the people I have surrounding me. My students are coming from far away as well. I've got my top student coming over from Scotland, as you say, and
Yeah.
he's coming over, staying with me. I'll make a point of training him while he's here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
He's not
Just
getting
went
off
for a
easy.
bit of hell. Don't let him get away with just coming over for a weekend.
He usually says on the journey home he loves the plane because he sleeps on it and he says he can't walk getting off. He has to be helped off. But yeah, so look, the martial arts community is great, and so is the Chinese medicine community. Of course, you're always going to get naysayers. You're always going to get politics. That
Sure.
goes hand in hand with every walk of life. It happens everywhere, the corporate world, everything. It's
Mhm.
just what it is. I've learned to pull back and just ignore these people over the years. Yeah, negativity is not something you want. So as you say, the likes of the chants that I do, they were designed many, many moons ago to bring in good energy, to bring in the deities, to bring in their energy, to drive out negativity, to keep your energy vibration on the vibration you need it or on. So, and that's why I do them. And do they work? Yes, they do.
Mhm.
And I wish more people would do it because unfortunately, again, the day and age we're in, I would say probably, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that probably 40% of my clientele um, have some kind of mental health issue. And as I say, I don't even like using that term, but
Yeah.
It,
I,
it's
wa- I
it,
kind of wanted to get into that with you, at some point, and I know we'll cover that in the next podcast, but it's going to be so interesting for people listening to this. If they go back to episode 12, and even though that was only probably a couple of years ago, maybe less,
mm,
that you'll see a massive evolution in you and a
mm,
massive evolution in me from that.
mm,
We've been like this great reset that everyone has actually been a fantastic thing for people like me and you, because
mm.
it's forced us back out into the open and get things going again. And I'm really looking forward to doing some seminars with you and looking at mental health and maybe getting some of the lads together who need a bit of a G up and a bit of positivity, and something that can solidify their energy a bit and get their mental health on track. And I'm sure that's something that we can facilitate in the near future.
Well, you absolutely can, because as you say, there's a lot of young men now that are broken in one way or another, through no fault of their own. Society's become too fast. It's become
Mm.
too, what's the word I would use for it? Too superficial. So everything's materialistic.
Yep.
It's all about who can drive the biggest car, who can get the mortgage. You know, it's all for show. And the guys are stressed. Everybody's stressed, and so are young girls as well. Everybody's stressed. Everybody's competing. We've got all the social media and who puts up the best photographs, who looks the best, who gets the most likes.
Yeah.
I have clients that come into me, and they can be kids. They can be kids coming in that are being bullied socially, like on the social media, harassment, whether they're a little bit, overweight, pudgy, or whatever, as we used to call it when we were young, a bit of puppy fat. But now kids can be damn cruel.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this type of thing going on in adults, in youth, that can be fixed very easily if people just come back to the center, come back to the root, and just practice the simple stuff. Unfortunately, what I see in that 40% is, once we get talking, is they're being prescribed X, Y, C, usually Seroquel,
Xanax.
diazepam,
Mm.
Xanax, Cipramil, all these
Mm.
antipsychotics, anti-anxiety, anti-depression, and so on.
Mm.
A lot of medicines that were probably designed originally with a purpose to maybe be used very short term to get somebody over an issue, to
Yep.
get them over the bump, as they say, for maybe a couple of
It's
weeks.
basically like casting a leg. It's like
Yeah,
putting a cast
up
over a
to a
broken
couple of
leg.
months.
Yeah.
But I have clients now, which I'm sure you have yourself. Unfortunately, some of these people have been 20 years on these meds, and they're never going to come off them.
No.
And coming off them is horrific for them. So the simple things are just coming back to the root, as I say, centering, giving people coping strategies.
Mm.
Simple things like the meditation, the chanting, the qigong,
Yep.
um, other
Breath
other
awareness, right? Sitting, being able to just sit with yourself.
being still,
Yeah.
being present.
Being in
That's
nature.
being in nature.
Mm.
All these things are so important. We talk about the Taoism. The Taoism had it all wrapped up thousands of years ago. How
Mm.
simple things should be. If
Mm.
you can sit with yourself, if you can be content, if you can love yourself.
Mm.
Modern techniques used in like psychotherapy, such as a havening, you've probably heard of it.
Yes.
It's all about the touch and the feel. It's coming back to loving yourself, and
Mm.
that's what it's about. Not being too hard on yourself, not being discontent with your own life, living the best life you can. It's also simple.
Mhm.
Now I can hear myself getting passionate,
Yeah,
because
I know. I was
this
going to say, you're going to see a big difference between 12 and 28.
yeah, because I want to fix a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you're going to evolve. That's what happens. I mean, I'm going now for a half a century, so of course you're going to evolve, and it's natural. That's universal law as well.
Mm.
That's back to the Taoism.
Mm.
When you're younger, you've all that young energy, and you just want to go. You want to fly around all the time. You just want to do. As you get a bit older, you get more reflective. The yin comes in, and you want to heal. That's what
Mhm.
you want to do. It's like, I can see now how the masters look at guys that were me when I was 20. So they see them going, hey, 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 with the kung fu and flying
Yeah.
around the place, and they just sick, and they don't come in because they know that's what they have to do. That's their journey. That's where they're at. They're at that young stage where you just need to let them. They're like a young horse. They need to run. So
Sure.
just let them do it. But then at their age, it's time to reflect. It's time to heal the body. It's time to look after the body. But the mental health is the critical one or the crucial one that I really want to focus on.
Right.
Because when the mental health breaks down, the body breaks down in general. The physical goes, the spiritual goes.
Mhm.
The spirituality is kind of lacking now in society. Of course,
Well,
it's lacking.
between you and me, and like I don't readily share this, but I'm at a point where I don't really give an F what people think.
Mm,
We're in a spiritual war right now for our
mm.
children, for the future. There's people wanting to, and it sounds very conspiratorial, but you know what I'm trying to say? There's this real battle for the human psyche, I feel a little bit.
Well, as I said, Anthony, already on a very simple level, the world has become too superficial, too
Mm.
materialistic. And
Mm.
that's what it comes down to. That everything is driven by fakeness. Everything is basically you need this, you need that. You don't need anything. All
Mm.
you need is contentment.
Mhm.
You don't need to be a millionaire. You don't need to have a bigger car than your neighbor. You don't need to drive the latest X5 BMW. You don't need any of this stuff.
Mhm.
Nice to have, but you don't need it.
Yeah.
You absolutely don't need it. People need to step back, reflect, and look after themselves. It's about the health. That's what it's about. It's about the health. It's about the journey through life. As true as us two are talking here, in
Mm.
40 years' time, we'll probably be a pile of dust. You get so many years. That's what you get. You get so many years to do something productive, something good with it. Even if you're not a religious person, even if you're not a spiritual person, you have to have meaning. You have to have meaning.
I
That's what
think
life is
so. I
about.
mean, like a couple of months ago, I was speaking to my wife and I said to her, look, I felt like this year, maybe the year before, I kind of eased off the gas for myself,
Hmm.
and like anyone that knows me knows that I don't ease off the gas. But for me, I felt like I had. It's like, I'm 50 now. Maybe I should just like ease off the gas a bit. And then about 2 months ago, when me and you were having a conversation, it's like, no, fuck it. But it's not about putting your foot down like you were when you're in your 20s. It's a bit like, you know, going from fifth gear into sixth. So you're still doing the same speed, but you're doing it more efficiently and you're relaxed and you're less tense and you're not holding onto the wheel and you're in cruise control. And that's
Hmm.
what I feel where I'm at coming up for 51. And I think anyone listening to this uh, and they want more information on what you do, we're going to be definitely doing some work together. I'd love you to come with me to Canada and meet some of my colleagues over there for a bit of fun in on one of the islands. But in the meantime, I'm going to wrap this up now because this was supposed to be a 20-minute podcast, but you can see the passion is very high. So we just keep it going, we keep it rolling. Is there any parting message before we wrap up that you want to share before we go? Well, obviously, we'll be leaving details below, links and all that. And I mean, it's sold out. So I'm sorry, guys, that's it, sold out. But is there anything you want to share with the audience, those people listening and watching?
Well, I suppose just a couple of quick things. One is just to thank everybody again for the support, because if I'm being honest, because I'm not a man that has an ego, if I'm being honest, I was nervous when I seen the size of the actual cinema screen.
Mm.
So I thank people for the support and being able to sell it out. That there's interest out there, which is brilliant. I'm flattered. And I also thank them knowing that we're doing something good for charity as well. We'll be signing a nice check after Christmas. And yeah, just thank people for the support. Give everybody that a voice or that kind of, drive that we've been trying to give, and say, look, get yourself up, get in gear. You don't have to, as you say, you don't have to go 100 million miles an hour. All you
Mm.
need to do is train. I'm almost 50. I still move really quickly, but the way I put it is I've started since I was a kid. So it's kind of, I suppose the analogy I would use is, it's like when you leave a diesel car sitting up, and then you start her up on the filter, the diesel filter, and it has trouble and the lights come up on the dash, and then you need to take it for a really good run across the motorway or whatever, and you clear her out. My diesel filter's constantly clean because I've been doing it since I'm a kid. But if your diesel filter's blocked, yeah, it's not a big deal. You just need to get that clear. That's all you need to do. And actually, I think I heard Master Yap use a similar analogy in Qigong, saying that basically you just need to clear all the meridians, and once they're clear, you're good to go. Or he uses a plumbing analogy actually about clearing the plumbing system. And it's the same thing. So what I say to people is it's never too late. Age is only a number. It doesn't matter. Even if you haven't been using it, yeah, you mightn't get up and start moving the way I do straight away, but you will eventually. And certainly if you train with me, you will, because I'll get you there. It's just about training, being active, because we all have to be active. And that's another thing that we will end up discussing is movement. Because that's another thing that a lot of my clients have forgotten to do. Design the move. And
I'm friends with a guy who's a movement coach in Dublin. He's a really lovely guy. And has a background in boxing as well. And he has a really interesting story of how he got there. And he does say it's important for overall health, but each person has a different movement goal, right? Back when I was in the 20s, I wanted to do the splits, so I learned how to do the splits. I wanted to be able to kick, 7 feet in the air and break breeze blocks, so I learned how to do it. And now you ask me to do that now, it'll be like a comedy show. But there's some people that I know that are in the 60s can still do those things. It's just
but it's muscle memory. So it's like I said with the diesel car analogy, it's that filter has constantly been cleaned because they've been going those long runs all the time. They've been cleaning that filter. It's the same thing. But anyway, we digress again. So basically, thanks to everybody. We're really going to have a really good night on Saturday. The plan is to meet up. We're going to meet up in the Green Room pub at about 5:30 in the evening. We're going to have a drink or two, a sociable drink. I have a professional photographer coming, so we're going to do a whole red carpet bit before we go into the cinema. Then we're going to watch the movie, and I hope everybody really enjoys it, which I'm sure they will. It's a really good piece. I'm proud of it. I think it holds its own. And then after that, I've booked the Dockers Bar, because being Christmas, it can be hard to get into places. You can get the bouncers with this, sorry, on the Christmas list, Buzz, So we have the Dockers Bar booked. I've booked that for a large crowd. So we're all going to go back there and enjoy a night. Thanks to everybody. The support is overwhelming, to be honest. It's brilliant. I've actually got a large number of calls this week and texts of people saying, "Oh God, I left it too late. It's sold out." So there's a possibility we might even run it again or run it somewhere else, whether it be Belfast, Cork.
I think it could be an opportunity to do that. To do that, and maybe even try another venue. See what the interest is like. I think for sure. And I would like to see us in the near future creating something together whereby people come together and train. And even if it's a retreat style where, they train for a week or they stay for a week or two, and, maybe never necessarily fall into any kind of lineage, but go to experience what it's like.
Oh, absolutely. Well, what we can do in the new year, Anthony, is we can put together some kind of a workshop or a retreat, as you say. And we're very privileged with a lot of the people that we know that we have, we have the facilities in terms of halls and land, things like that. So, we can put stuff together in terms of what I would love to do is I would love to do Qigong. I would love to do some mental health awareness. I would love to do some treatments in terms of the acupuncture, the herbs, the mushrooms, and all that type of stuff. Bits of the Lung Ying. We can even do bits of self-defense and confidence building type movements, and just holding yourself right in terms of that. We can do all that. I'm also a keen archer, so we can do some archery if people want, and things like that. Throwing axes, going back to nature. Exactly. We can do all that type of stuff.
But we've enough people between us to make this happen. And I know people listening to this who are friends and colleagues who want to come in and help either facilitate, give us the space.
I think we can motivate people. I think we can get people doing stuff. Yeah, and I think it'd be good. So just to wrap it up, as you say, because we were wrapping up for quite a while
Yeah,
there. But,
yeah.
just again, thanks to everybody. And I'm going to thank everybody individually, hopefully at some stage. But thanks to yourself as well, because you've been a shining light and a great support as well. And I mean, the work you're doing, just like the lads that I mentioned in London, bringing fresh eyes, or people that wouldn't otherwise see this, bringing fresh eyes to the work that we do is tremendous work. It takes a lot, and it's a lot of energy. And I know people think these things happen by accident. They don't. It takes organization. It takes work after the fact as well, and getting things out there. So, thanks a lot, Anthony. It's
You're
brilliant.
welcome. You're welcome. And
thanks
thanks
to
to
everybody
everybody for
else.
listening, watching, support Kurt in his work, Long Ying Dragon Style, the Herbal Clinic as well, his clients. And we'll get to see, we'll give an analysis of the film after it's happened, and we'll get you on the next one for a deep dive. So thanks very much for listening. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks very much, Andy. Thanks.